We're in Burbank, and I'm backstage with Congressman Adam Schiff. This is the final rally of his senatorial campaign in the primary. Thank you for doing this. Let's start with the state of the race. Our audience knows you. You're popular, as are your two Democratic opponents, Congresswoman Lee and Congresswoman Porter. What differentiates you as a Democrat from the two of them that Californians, you say, will vote for you at the primary tomorrow?
I think really a couple things. One is Californians are looking for someone who can lead in the really big fights. And in the fight to preserve our democracy, I'm proud of the role that I played in standing up to a corrupt president if need be. And I'm confident Joe Biden is going to be the victor. But if need be, I would do it all over again to protect our institutions and protect our democracy. But Californians are also looking for someone who has a record of getting things done, of delivering. And I've been proud to deliver everything from an early earthquake warning system to mass transit to bring back millions for housing, writing California's Patient Bill of Rights. It's a record of delivering for California that I think sets me apart from my colleagues.
You've served 12 terms, if I'm not mistaken, in the U.S. House. I'm sure you have crossed paths with a lot of Californians who have said, it seems like things are only getting worse for life in California. Unaffordability is going up. The gap between the rich and the poor, the rich and the working class, is as large as it's ever been. California, that gap is as large in California as almost any other state. It's time for new leadership. What do you say to them?
We definitely have our challenges both in California and around the country, but these are challenges that we can meet. As you say, one of our top challenges is housing. We're going to need to really incentivize the development of a lot more affordable housing. I've been championing a dramatic expansion of the low-income housing tax credit to incentivize the construction of hundreds of thousands of new units in California. But this has to be a federal, state, and local partnership. At the local level, we need local government to approve new housing starts much more quickly. It can take 4 years to build new housing. We're never going to solve this problem if it takes 4 years to build new housing. But look, I brought back millions to the state to build housing. Dianne Feinstein in the Senate brought back billions to the state. That's what I want to do. I want to make sure those resources go to meet the unmet needs of Californians.
If that's the case, I mean, if billions have been brought back, why, when you drive around the streets, is there such a big unhoused population? Why is it as bad as it seems out there?
You know, the predominant cause of homelessness is a lack of available housing. It's as simple as that. And yes, when we move people into shelter, we have to make sure that they get the mental health care treatment that they need or substance abuse treatment. But at the end of the day, if there's not enough housing, we're always going to have homeless. And we've been divesting as a federal government since the 1970s. We used to put a lot more resources into housing. We haven't been doing that. That's a mistake. More than that, it has gotten so expensive to build housing that we need to change the incentives to encourage not just building of housing, but building of housing that's truly affordable.
Katie Porter, your challenger in this race on the Democratic side, is not happy with your campaign. She said it's brazenly cynical, the amount of money you've spent on behalf of attacking Steve Garvey, but also, in effect, elevating him to the first position in a lot of polls in this race. What's your response to Katie Porter?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, we're in a jungle primary, so it's not as if there's a closed Democratic primary and a closed Republican primary. We're all competing for the same votes. And Mr. Garvey is out there attacking me. He's not bothering to attack Katie Porter. And I do need to respond, and I am responding, setting my record in contrast to hers and others in terms of leadership and effectiveness, but also setting out the differences with Mr. Garvey on a whole range of issues. He is not going to protect reproductive freedom. He's never going to go toe-to-toe with the NRA to fight for common sense gun safety measures.
But respectfully, he probably wouldn't have had a chance. He spent $1.5 million as of the last filings. You spent, nearly $40 million, if I'm not mistaken, or including you and your allies. She's saying he would have never had a chance had Adam Schiff not spent all this money attacking him. Do you want to face him? Is that what you want to do in the run-up?
Her argument would be a lot more credible if she wasn't spending a bunch of money trying to elevate a different Republican.
A small fraction, but yes, you're correct.
Well, look, you can't criticize the campaign and then do the same thing, and that's exactly what she's been doing.
Let's talk about the issues. All of you, I think a lot of viewers will be surprised to know, all the Democrats and the Republican Garvey are opposed to President Biden's immigration proposal, the bill. Why is that? What don't you like about it?
Well, first of all, I don't like the fact that it was coupled with Ukraine aid and Israel aid and Taiwan aid and humanitarian assistance. That seemed not only destined to fail, but also to bring down those other vital aid packages. But more than that, none of the Hispanic members of Congress even had a seat at the table. None of the border state Democrats had a seat at the table.
Senator Padilla, you're right, is also against it.
And as a result, it was a very lopsided package that had no relief for dreamers, no pathway to citizenship for people, It was doomed to failure. I would like to see a comprehensive solution to immigration. The Republicans aren't going to help us with this. As they made clear when bowing to Donald Trump, they worked to kill this thing. They're not interested in solving this problem. Democrats are going to have to do it, I think, on our own, which means we're going to need to hold the Senate, take back the House, do away with the filibuster, and finally pass comprehensive reform.
As far as the ceasefire and the vice president's call over the weekend in Selma, and President Biden supported this 6-week ceasefire proposal. Are you on board with that proposal as well?
I'm certainly on board if we can get that 6-week pause in the fighting, get those hostages released. It certainly appears the obstacle here, and this is the genesis of this conflict, is Hamas. Hamas will not release the hostages. It won't go along with even a temporary pause in the fighting. But I hope, nonetheless, this can be successful. We can get more aid to people in Gaza. I'm glad we're doing the airdrops of aid. I'm glad we're exploring a sea route to provide more aid. But at the end of the day, a terrorist organization cannot continue to control Gaza.
There's a lot of concern about President Biden and the polls, and we've been out on the trail about whether or not he's up to the challenge of taking on President Trump in the general election. Do you have concerns about his campaign or about him as a candidate?
I think he's been a phenomenal president, and what he has delivered for this country in the CHIPS and Science Act to bring back good, high-paying jobs to the country, in the most aggressive attack on climate change in our history. After 4 years of Trump and infrastructure week with no infrastructure, Joe Biden got it done. He has an incredibly impressive record to run on. But even more than that, at the end of the day, I'm confident the American people are going to pick someone who is decent, who knows right from wrong, and that is Joe Biden, as opposed to that other candidate who has no ethical compass.
Who else has a nickname or two for you? Somebody told me.
Yes.
Before we go, California has a deliberate, and people may not know this, has a deliberately slow process when it comes to counting the votes. It could take up to 30 days if it's close.
Please don't say that.
I'm just telling you, tomorrow night, if it's close, it could take up to 30 days. What's your message, in all seriousness, to Californians who might say, I want an answer on Tuesday night as far as the outcome of this election?
Well, we're already seeing the same nonsense from Donald Trump, saying that if there's delays and whatnot, it must be fraud, blah, blah, blah. That's just a bunch of hooey, to quote President Biden. It's going to take time to count the ballots. We move to an all-in-the-mail election to increase voter participation. People need to be patient. But if results change as ballots come in, that's the way the system works. There's nothing suspicious about it. It's just called counting every vote.
You've heard it from Congressman Schiff. Be patient, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Good to see you. Good luck.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.